Retribution on the raw way. 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 Here they descended upon the homestead of David Miller. Retribution on the raw way. Here on the raw way. Here they descended upon the homestead of David Miller. Retribution on the raw way. Here on the raw way. Here they
has had many crime families
descended upon the homestead of David Miller. Retribution on the raw way. Here on the raw way. Here they descended upon the homestead of David Miller. Retribution of homestead of David Miller. Retribution on the raw way. Here on the raw way.
The legacy of the Bulgarian Empire.
Just like the rest of you, one leg at a time.
Breathing in.
Except once my pants are on, I make gold records. I make gold records. I make gold records. Once my pants are on, here we go. I make gold, you one leg at a time. I make gold, you one leg at a time. I make gold. I make gold records. Here we go. I make gold records. I put my pants on. Don't fear the reap. Except I make gold records. Take one rope. Take one rope.
In this moment,
take one rope. Take one rope.
In this moment,
rope. Take one rope. Take one. Once my pants rope.
Follow me.
I make gold records. Here we go. I make gold records.
Lost in the dance.
The Revolutionary War's factions were driven by deep loyalties. Patriots to the cause of independence. Loyalists to the crown. But these loyalties were often tested, much like the familial and criminal allegiances in The Sopranos. For example, the Queen's Rangers, fiercely loyal to Britain, operated behind enemy lines, much like a specialized mafia crew working covertly. Whether it be international players, Silvio comes to mind, crews using establishments, as we will hear about later, as well as the garbage business, for instance. Here draws a very tight parallel with militia patrols. In places like Elizabethtown and Newark proper, patrols would have substantial crews of 50 men, often supported for long periods of the war. However, deployed surrounding these centers were smaller cells of militia and intriguing elaborate communication, warning and conduct protocols employed along the Arthur kills smaller groups of men, would patrol generally within signal range, as to stay rotating between the properties of each in the crew units, 4 or 5 in each crew, that could amass to a large threat, tactically retreat, and most importantly, the entire militia would not be captured in a single action at night. Furthermore, units of 5 have a fighting chance for at least some to escape. This aided by the ladies of the Hornet's Nest. Many queen bees were versed and proficient in these signals as well. One Mary Marsh, a 16-year-old young lady from today's Linden, New Jersey, routed an entire foraging party beset upon her family's sizable and lucrative homestead by stampeding the farm's cattle through the horse thieves. Several would-be plunderers were injured, a handful seriously, and their intended prize were now unpinned and scattered. This sent the king's unit to flight, denied any substantial confiscation. Mary Marsh, so Jersey, even then in 1778, I believe. The Sopranos, more than Italian-American, are faithfully drawn from the New Jersey identity so many ridicule, while secretly envying. As you have now been made aware, this surviving peninsular culture had long been established by the Revolution, but that's another story. In this story, it sounds like Janice, right? When it's time. Maybe. Just something I thought about. Is there a legit comparison there? Let me know in the comments. Is there more comparisons to be had? Within The Sopranos, loyalty often fractures under pressure. Think of key betrayals between crime families, or even within Tony's inner circle. Leadership archetypes. Leaders on both sides of the revolution, such as Mad Anthony Wayne, Clinton, or Simcoe, exhibit traits mirrored by Sopranos bosses. For example, Wayne's bold and aggressive nature resonates with Tony Soprano's take-charge, no-holds-barred attitude. Simcoe's cunning tactical mindset could parallel New York families like Carmine Lupertazzi Sr. or Johnny Sack, whose calculated moves sought dominance without needless bloodshed. Clinton's more structured and strategic approach reflects a figure like Carmine Saar, contrasted with impulsive personalities like Wayne or Tony. Strategic importance of territory. Both The Revolution and The Sopranos revolve around controlling critical territories. For revolutionary forces, towns like Elizabeth, Newark, or Morristown held logistical and symbolic importance. In The Sopranos, territorial disputes, like the conflict between the DeMio and New York families, similarly dictated power dynamics. The neutral ground in revolutionary New Jersey, rife with constant skirmishes, mirrors the contested neutral zones between mafia families that are often flashpoints for conflict.
Follow me.
The Presbyterian minister James Caldwell, the fighting parson, was very active in the Caldwell area, and his church was burned by Loyalist troops in Elizabethtown, December of 1779. The next year, the fighting parson's wife would be killed in an act of British brutality during the action of the last invasion.
Could you just tell me? Take it easy, pal.
Fourth, we are going into my neck of the woods. A bunch happened here, and there will be a few links down below, and cards to click up top to dive deeper into the Sopranos location. Vesuvio's Restaurant, Elizabeth, New Jersey. Revolutionary War connection. Elizabeth, then Elizabethtown, was a major site of Revolutionary War activity. It was repeatedly raided by the British, who were based in nearby Staten Island. The Battle of Elizabethtown in 1777 saw significant skirmishing. The town changed hands multiple times, and its citizens suffered greatly. This location has the strongest and most direct Revolutionary War connection. One notable incident involving Hatfield was the capture and execution of Stephen Ball, while indeed Ball privately a patriot. The terrible truth, the Octor Devil targeted Ball purely out of spite. That said, Mr. Ball, a business competitor to Hatfield, had been gobbling up the cider business in the detested captain's absence. Cornelius seethed at Ball's good fortune, likely built further by Hatfield's auctioned equipment, and stripped from seized orchards taken in 1779. Cornelius was simply securing his inevitable evil return. The official story is Stephen Ball, a merchant making bank selling to both sides, depending on who held Elizabethtown, lived a double life. Patriot in mind? Yes. Suspicion Ball accused a Patriot spy, with no trial and the crucial ideas like what, when, why, just a how if maybe. The War, Sopranos, and Newark. From rebel raids to restaurant stings. A history of hustle and pressure, all right. Settle down. You think Newark's just bridges and warehouses. Fogate about it. This city, it's always been a hot zone. A place where the action comes looking for you. We're talking centuries of external forces swinging by, looking to take a piece or lean on someone. Yeah, like Adriana's story, her nightclub. Her chance to legitimize herself. Poor Aid. Just like the American rebel centuries earlier, all she wanted was a little legitimacy. Her club, the Crazy Horse later, she rebranded it Look Around. A nice spot right here in Newark. Her dream, but dreams in this town. They got to share space with reality. And Adriana's reality was tied to Christopher, which meant it was tied to the mob. And where the mob hangs out, the feds ain't far behind. That club, it became a bullseye. A place for the FBI to watch, wait, and build a case. They saw the drug action, they saw the wise guys, and they saw Adriana. She wasn't just the owner anymore. She was leverage. A pawn in a war way bigger than bottle service and bouncer payrolls. They squeezed her, hard, using her club, her life, everything she cared about, right here in Newark. See? Nothing new. This city's been a strategic pain in the ass for outside forces since forever. Back in the Revolution, 1777, General Clinton rolls in with a few thousand British troops. Supposed to be a quick smash and grab, a diversion while his boss, General Howe, was busy trying to snag Philly. They hit Newark, but Newark, it pushed back. The local militia, just regular guys probably, farmers, blacksmiths, they didn't have fancy uniforms, but they had guts and they knew their streets. They put up enough of a fight. Not a huge battle, but it was enough. Enough to tell the British, nah, not today. Forced them to skip town, move on up towards Aquacannock. Newark held its ground, at least that time. And these weren't the only uninvited guests. Couple years later, 1780, you got guys like Lieutenant Eben Ward and his loyalist crew. Basically, Americans who sided with the king, operating out of New York, poking around. Grabbed a few locals, including a Major Hayes. Called them atrocious rebels. Yeah, because calling names helps when you're kidnapping people. Then November of 1780, Captain Thomas Ward, probably family, who knows. Another 100 guys on a pickarooning trip. Think old school smash and grab for supplies. They hit Newark, looking to lighten the locals' load. But again, the militia steps up. Managed to recover a good chunk of what was lifted. Still getting raided, yeah, but Newark was still fighting back. But here's where it gets tight. Fast forward to March 1781. Another crew from New York. But this time, they had one name on the list. Josiah Hornblower, big shot, Speaker of the New Jersey Assembly. High-profile target. The plan? Pure kidnapping. Grab the man himself, right here in Newark. Leverage. Disruption. A direct hit on a key player. Sounds familiar, right? Think Adriana. To the FBI, she became their Josiah Hornblower. Not Speaker of the Assembly, but the weak point in the mob's defenses. A high-profile target they needed to control. They raided her life, used her club, right here in Newark, to try and take her, turn her into their asset. Hornblower got lucky. He saw it coming, or maybe just moved fast. Either way, he was luckier than other targets, such as Isaac Winans Sr. and Jr. We have discussed previously on the channel. Those Essex County Committee of Safety Representatives Patriots, also living along the Arthur, Kill-Newark Bay front line, were snatched up during the years of raiding. However, Hornblower, he escaped that trap. Adriana? Adriana didn't escape the external pressures targeted by federal agencies, similar to so many Americans targeted by the British during the war. The walls closed in. The pressure from the feds, the rules of the life she was in. She couldn't escape. She was taken, in the end, by the very forces that converged on her, right here in this city. So yeah, Adriana's doomed nightclub, those Revolutionary War raids, the targeted politicians, different centuries, different battles. But the story's got a rhythm in Newark. External forces pushing in, looking for control, looking for leverage, making the locals, or the people operating here, fight for every inch. Sometimes you push them back. Sometimes you escape. And sometimes you don't. This city remembers.